Thursday, and today I'm going to show you how to make a little rat Grim Reaper, Ratty Reaper, the Grim Squeaker. Let's get into it. Okay, let's talk tools and materials. For today's project, you're going to need 8-ply 100% acrylic yarn in a couple of different colours. First up, you're going to need some grey and some black for his robes, either a white or an off-white or cream for his bones, and I am going to use cream today, but I'm going to refer to it as white, just for simplicity's sake. You are going to need some brown and some pale grey for his scythe, and you're also going to need a scrap amount of a very, very bright colour for his pupils. Now, you could do this with yellow or red or blue. Just make sure that it's a very saturated, bright colour because it needs to really pop against the black. So other than yarn, I also recommend that you have a weight to put in the base of him. He will stand up on his own, but this will make him way more stable. A 3.5mm hook, pins and needles, scissors, and some stuffing. He doesn't need a lot of stuffing, but he does need a little. And you are also going to need a couple of stitch markers, and I use bobby pins for that because they are superior. But that's it. A written version of today's pattern will be made available to my patrons and will also be available on Etsy, and I will leave links to both in the description down below for anybody who's interested. And today I thought we would start with the most complex piece, which is the little skull. Now this skull is made up of 3 pieces, 2 of which are the eye socket, and then 1 which is the snout. So I want you to have your eye colour, your black, and your bone colour ready to go. So starting with an eye socket, I want you to grab your black and make a magic ring. Now into this magic ring, we're going to put 2 black single crochet, changing to our eye colour in the second stitch. So here's our first one. And we're going to work a colour change in our second one, which is always just a little bit tricky to do in a magic ring, but not impossible. So to work our colour changes, we insert our hook into the magic ring, yarn over and pull up a loop. So you have 2 loops on your hook. Then we're going to hold our black out of the way, making sure to maintain tension so that nothing like unwinds itself. And I'm going to grab my eye colour and I'm going to pinch it at the base of the stitch such that it is. And then yarn over and pull through our 2 loops with that. Then just tug both of our tails to scooch the stitch on down into place, leaving us with 2 black single crochet into our magic ring and our new colour on our hook ready to go. I'm then going to swing the tails of my yarn around so that I'm working over the top of them. And in our bright colour, we are going to work a treble crochet, changing back to our black. I did warn you we were starting with the trickiest piece. So to work a treble crochet, you yarn over your hook twice, insert your hook into the magic ring, yarn over and pull up a loop. So you should have 4 loops in total on your hook. We're then going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over and pull through the next 2 loops. That should leave you with 2 loops on your hook. And that's where we're going to change back to our black. So I'm going to hold my bright colour out of the way, grab the black that I didn't trim off before, yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. And once again, just tug on your tails to scooch everything down where it belongs. And there's your finished treble crochet. Now you will notice that it's kind of buckling outwards a little bit. That's perfect. You want it to like bobble out a little bit. So continuing on in our black, we want to work 3 more single crochet all into that starting magic ring. So that's 6 stitches in total. And then I want you just to pull my magic ring tight. And it should leave us with this little black circle with 1 bobbly little bobble popping out of it. So there is the start of our eye socket. Row 2 is then 6 increases around to bring our row up to 12. And row 3 is 6 repeats of a single crochet and an increase. So there's our first one, and we're going to repeat that 5 more times around to bring our row up to 18. And at this point you can trim off your eye colour. I'm just superstitious, which is why I don't do it before now. Then row 4 and 5 are 18 single crochet around each for a combined total of 36 stitches. Like so. Now in the final stitch of row 5, we want to change to our white. So I'm just going to frog that last stitch and work a colour change. Now I am going to just tie my tails together this time. And while we are done with the black for this piece, I'm not going to trim it off just yet, just because, you know, superstition, but we will at the end of the row. So we have our finished black single crochet with our white on our hook ready to go. So now, working in our white, we are going to work 18 front post single crochet around. So normally when we work crochet, we are working through the loops at the top of stitches, but when we work post single crochet, we are working instead around the post of the stitch. In this pattern, we are going to be working both front post and back post stitches. This row is front post, meaning we insert our hook from the front of the work, around the post, back to the front of the work, and yarn over and pull up our loop, and yarn over and pull through both loops. So there is our first front post single crochet, and it leaves a pair of loops on the back that we haven't used, and that is not relevant to any part of this pattern today, but it's just noteworthy. For a front post stitch, you use the loops on the front for your next row. So I'm going to go ahead and work 18 of those around in total. Like so. So there are those loops on the inside that I was talking about that we're not using. And then in row 7, we're going to work 18 back post single crochet around. This means we are once again working around the posts of the stitches. This time they are the cream stitches that you can see here, but we're going to be working our hook from the back of the stitch, round the post, back to the back of the stitch. And you notice that I've folded mine forward to make that a little bit easier. You can absolutely do that, just tilt it forward so that those stitches are on top. And you'll see that that now leaves us with the pair of loop from our stitches here, but a spare pair of loops on the front. Now, we're not going to use these loops, but they are adding the ridge to the top of our eye socket. So I'm going to work 18 of those around in total. And that's what that looks like. So it's given us this nice hard corner. So we're going back to working through the loops at the top of the stitch now. So row 8 is 3 single crochet, and then 6 repeats of a single crochet and an increase. So there's our first one, and we're going to do that 5 more times around. This should leave you with just 3 stitches in your row, and we're going to work 3 single crochet back to the start of our row. 1, 2, 3. I know it doesn't look like anything at the moment, just please trust the process. So at this point, I am going to trim off my black, and we're going to work 3 rows of 24 single crochet around for a combined total of 72 stitches. So there we are at the end of row 11. Now for the next row, we are going to be doing, I think it's the hardest technique of the whole pattern, and it's one that I first tried out doing Wrinkles the Baby Dinosaur earlier this year. And that is, we're going to use surface crochet to take our opening from like straight up and down to more of an angle, which is what's going to help the skull form the correct shape. Now we only have to do this for 1 row, this pattern, so we're going to just walk through it very, very slowly. So for row 12, we're going to be working surface crochet, which is basically front post single crochet that isn't being worked around the top loops. So we work these by working around posts from different rows. And while the notation looks complicated, it's really not that hard. So for row 12, the first stitch says 4 front post single crochet around row 9. So I'm going to find the next stitch around our opening that we would usually work into, which is this one here. I'm going to find the little square underneath it, and that's row 11. I'm going to follow that line down, so that's row 10 and row 9. So we know that this is the little square we want to work around. And I'm just going to insert my hook around the post of that stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over and complete my stitch. So that's the first stitch of row 12, and I can see that we're supposed to do 4 front post single crochet around row 9 in a row. So there's our first one. Then I'm just going to follow that line around. So 2, 3, and 4. So that's what we currently look like. Next, we're going to do 1 front post single crochet around row 10. So I'm going to find the next stitch around and we're going to move up a row. So there is our row 9 stitch and we're going to move up a row to where row 10 is. Insert our hook around the post of that stitch instead and work our single crochet. So now we have 4 in row 9 and 1 in row 10. Then it's 14 front post single crochet around row 11. So we find our next stitch around in row 10 and we move up a row to row 11, which we know is this top row. And so there's our first one. And we have 13 more to do around the edge of the piece. 12, 13. I'm just going to go back and count just to make sure. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 14 from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and we need one more. 14. So that's our row so far. We've gone from here around to here. And now we want to work, basically it's a diagonal back down to the start of our round there. And we do that by working 1 front post single crochet into row 10. So we find the next stitch around the row we're currently working in, which we know is row 11, and we work 1 down in row 10. And then it's 4 front post single crochet in row 9. So we find the next stitch around, that's row 10, down to row 9. And work our 4 front posts. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And there we are at the end of row 12. Let me slide this stitch marker out. So that's what we look like. And you'll see it's given us kind of this little like flap, and that's just going to be on the inside. So our opening has gone from straight across to having a little diagonal, but those front posts form the new round we're going to work into. So starting in the first front post single crochet that we did, I want you to work 8 single crochet, 2, 3, 7, and 8. We're then going to work 10 half double crochet. So a half double crochet is when you yarn over your hook, insert into the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop to leave 3 loops on your hook, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And what that does is just give you a slightly taller stitch than a single crochet. So there's our first one, and we're going to do 9 more of those around for 10 in total. So 2, 3, 4, 9, and 10. And then we have just 6 single crochet back to the start of our round. 1, 2, 5, and 6. And there is our eye socket. We're going to finish that off. That's what it looks like on the inside and from the sides. And all I want you to do is I want you to poke the black part of your eye into the eye socket. And I'm just going to like pinch around that row of front post single crochet that we did before and make sure that the little eye pops out. But there is our first little eye socket. And I want you to pop that to one side and make another one just like it. Like so. So now I'm going to pop both of those to one side. And the thing I like about these sorts of eyes with the pupils kind of being inset into them is that for me, they kind of look like they follow you around the room a little bit, no matter how you face them. They kind of look like they're looking at you, but they will end up together like this. So less of an optical illusion. All right, we're going to pop those to one side and we're going to make the snout. Okay, for the snout, I am going to start in my white, but you will need to have a little bit of black and a stitch marker handy to make the little nose hole. So for the snout, we're going to start in our white, and I want you to start by making a magic ring of 6. One, there we go. In row 2, we're going to work 2 repeats of an increase and a single crochet. There's our first one, and we're going to do that again. like so. Then in the next stitch, I want you to take your stitch marker and mark the front loop. So that's the loop on the outside of the work. And into the back loop only, we are going to work an increase. I've just always found it's easier to mark the front loop before working into the back loop only, but you can mark it afterwards as well, I suppose. And then we have 1 single crochet back to the start of our round. So our round should have 9 stitches in it and a bobby pin or stitch marker marking 1 front loop. And then in row 3, we're going to build his little teeth. Now I do recommend having a couple of stitch markers handy just because we will be working picots, and I find that stitch markers can make it a lot easier to work with rows with picots in them. So we're going to start just by working a single crochet, and then we're going to work 2 repeats of a single crochet and then a picot. So a picot is when you chain 3, and I work my first one normally and then I pull the second 2 very tightly. Then I'm going to insert my hook into that first chain and work a little slip stitch into it. So there's our first picot and his first little tooth. Now that's our first repeat, and so we're going to do that again. We're going to work a single crochet, and I am going to mark that single crochet because I have trouble finding single crochets after picots sometimes, and that's just why I've got stitch markers here. And then another little picot. So there's our second repeat and our second little tooth. We're then going to work 2 single crochet, and I'm once again going to mark that stitch straight after the picot. So it's our 2. And then it's just 2 repeats of a single crochet and an increase back to the start of our row. So there's 1, and we're going to do that one more time. Single crochet and increase. That's what my row currently looks like. So in row 4, we're going to lock in his teeth and then make his little nose as well. So we start by working just 7 single crochet. So it's 2 up to the first picot. The third one is between the 2 picot, which is where I've marked. And do make sure that your picots like poke out the front of your work. Sometimes that takes a little bit of fiddling. So that's 3 of the 7. Then we've got the next one is on the other side of this second picot. Poke it out to the front. It's 4, 5, 6. And in our 7th, I'm going to change to my black. And we've done a few color changes now. It's exactly the same as those ones. So with our black on our hook, we're going to work a double crochet into this front loop, and we're going to change back to our white in it, which is again a little fiddly. So we're going to start by yarning over our hook, inserting into our marked front loop, which we are not removing the marker for. Yarn over and pull up a loop. So we have 3 black loops on our hook. I want you to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops on your hook, leaving you with just 2 remaining. Then hold your black out of the way and change back to your white. Now we're going to skip the stitch of the row that falls behind that stitch because we worked into the front loop instead, and work a single crochet, changing back to our black in the next stitch around. Now at this point you can stop and count, and you should still have 11 stitches in your round. Now with our black back on our hook, we're going to work another double crochet into the marked front loop, changing back to our white. Like so. Once again, skipping the next stitch of the round that we would have otherwise worked into. And we're going to work 1 single crochet back to the start of our round. And there we have the nose. Now we are done with the black, but once again, superstition, going to leave it for 1 more round before trimming off. Row 5 starts with an increase, then 4 single crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, then another increase, a single crochet, And that brings us to the first black stitch of the nostril, and I want you to work in the back loop only, a single crochet, then a single crochet through both loops of the white stitch in the middle, and a single crochet in the back loops only of the second stitch of the nose. And then just one more single crochet to finish the round. Now at this point, if the top of your stitch is looking a little bit wide, as it can with color changes, sometimes the tension's not perfect, I want you to fossick about inside your nose and find the starting tail. And if we give that a little pull, gives him a bit of a nose job. And then we can trim off our black and remove our stitch marker. Row 6 is then just 2 single crochet, 1, 2, 5 half double crochet, 1, 2, so that's 3 done, 4, 5, and 6 single crochet back to the start of our round. And finish off. And there is the little nose. And I'm going to pop that to one side with the skull. Okay, so the next piece we're going to make is the hood. So in order to do that, you're going to need your black and your grey. Dark grey is preferred here. And we're going to start now black. And I want you to start by making a magic ring of 6. And then we want to build up our hood as a triangle shape, not a round shape. And so in order to do that, we're going to encourage 3 distinct corners over the next 5 rows. So row 2 is 3 repeats of a single crochet, and then 3 single crochet into the same stitch. There's our first repeat, and we're going to do that 2 more times, which should bring your round up to 12 stitches. Row 3 is 3 repeats of 2 single crochet, 3 single crochet into the same stitch, and then a single crochet to bring us up to 18 stitches. Row 4 is 3 repeats of 3 single crochet, 3 single crochet into the same stitch, and then 2 single crochet to bring our round up to 24 stitches. Row 5 is 3 repeats of 4 single crochet, 3 single crochet into the same stitch, and then 3 single crochet to bring us up to 30 stitches. And then finally, row 6 is 3 repeats of 5 single crochet, 3 single crochet into the same stitch, and then 4 single crochet to bring our round up to 36 stitches. So there is our little triangle. We're then going to work 7 rows of 36 single crochet around for a combined total of 238 stitches, changing to our grey in the last stitch of the last row. 35 and changing to our grey. So there we are at the end of row 13, and I have changed to my dark grey. That means that we have finished the inside of the hood and we are now working on the outside of the hood. So now in our grey, we are going to work 36 front post single crochet around. Then for row 15, we're back to working through the loops. So we start with 3 single crochet into the same stitch, 20 single crochet around, 1, 2, 3, 17, 18, 19, and 20. then 3 single crochet all into the same stitch, and 14 single crochet back to the start of our round. Like so. So at this point I'm comfortable trimming my black off. And there we are at the end of row 15, and you should have 40 stitches in your round. So now we're going to work 2 rows of 40 single crochet around for a combined total of 80 stitches. Like so. We're then going to work, I think it's the first decrease we've worked in this pattern, which is actually incredible given that we're on piece number 3, but we're going to start row 18 with a single crochet 3 together. And that's basically just a decrease over 3 stitches instead of 2. So I work mine by inserting my hook through the front loop only of all 3 stitches I'm decreasing over. I yarn over and I pull up a loop through those 3 loops, leaving me with 2 loops on my hook, then yarn over and finish my decrease. With that done, we're going to work 20 single crochet around. 1, 2, 3, 17, 18, 19 and 20. We're then going to work another single crochet 3 together. And 14 single crochet back to the start of our round. Leaving us once again with 36 stitches in our round. And we're now going to work 4 rows of 36 single crochet around for a combined total of 144 stitches. And there we are at the end of row 22. So we've built up all of the depth that our hood needs at this point, and now we are just closing off the back of it. So row 23 is 10 single crochet, 3 decreases, and then 20 single crochet to bring our round down to 33. Row 24 is 9 single crochet, 3 decreases, and you'll notice that we're loading our decreases in the top corner. That is just to help the hood slope down off the top of the head. And then 18 single crochet to bring our round down to 30. Row 25 is a decrease, 7 single crochet, a single crochet 3 together, 7 single crochet, a decrease, and then 9 single crochet back to the start of our round. This should leave you with 26 stitches around. And row 26 is a single crochet 3 together, 5 single crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a decrease, 5 single crochet, a single crochet 3 together, and then 8 single crochet back to the start of our round, leaving us with just 21 stitches. There we go. And it should be noted at this point that we are not stuffing this piece at all. The skull is the stuffing. You'll see how it works in a minute. Row 27 is 3 repeats of a decrease and then 4 single crochet. And then 3 single crochet back to the start of the round. 1, 2, 3. Row 28 is 6 repeats of a single crochet and then a decrease, which will bring you down to 12 stitches. And then row 29 is just 6 decreases around. finish off. And you will be left with just like a tiny little opening, and I want you to take your remaining tail and just pull it through the front loops only of each stitch around. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and pull it shut like a little drawstring bag, and just tuck that end away inside. Okay, so that is what our hood piece currently looks like. And just like with the eye sockets, what we're going to do is tuck the inside of the hood into the outside of the hood. So just push the black part of the hood down inside, and you should have your row of front post single crochet from row 14 that you can like pinch to form the edge around the opening of the hood, leaving you with a shape that looks a little bit like this. Pop the hood aside for now. Alrighty, next up we are going to make the body, and we work this entirely in our dark grey. So that's the same color that you made the outside of your hood in. And I want you to start with a magic ring of 6. And then over the next 5 rows, we're going to increase by 6 evenly placed increases per row. So there we are at the end of row 6, and there is 36 stitches in our round. And that is the base of our robe. So in row 7, we are going to give him a little bit of like a spooky flow to the back of it. I don't know how else to describe it, but it'll make sense in a second. So we are going to start by working 12 single crochet. 1, 2, 10, 11, 12. And then we're going to work 6 repeats of 2 single crochet and a picot. So 1, 2, and then we're going to picot just the same way we did for the teeth. So there's our first one. Going to do 5 more of them around. Five. And this is our 6th one here. And then it's just 12 single crochet back to the start of our round. So there's our spookiness, and it's going to make a little bit more sense after we work row 8. Now row 8 is just 36 back post single crochet around. So working around the post from the back of the work. 1, 2, it's just a back post single crochet around every stitch around. 3, 4, like so, and you are just going to want to like flatten that back out a little bit. You can see there that those picots are forming like a raggedy edge to that fabric at the back. So now we need to build up a little bit of height to our body. So row 9 starts with 13 single crochet. 11, 12, 13. It should bring you to just before our first little picot there. Then we're going to work 6 decreases. Now I am working invisible decreases. You can absolutely work standard decreases if you prefer. 5 and 6. It's going to scrunch your work up a little bit, but it's going to be fine. And then 11 single crochet back to the start of our round. Row 10 and 11 are both 30 single crochet around for a combined total of 60 stitches. Like so. Row 12 is 13 single crochet. A decrease. 2 single crochet. A decrease, and then 11 single crochet back to the start of our round. Row 13 is 13 single crochet, 6 half double crochet, and then 9 single crochet for 28 stitches in total. Row 14 is 11 single crochet, a decrease, 6 half double crochet, a decrease, and then 7 single crochet to get the row down to 26 stitches. Row 15 is 12 single crochet, 6 half double crochet, and then 8 single crochet. Row 16 is 10 single crochet, a decrease, 6 half double crochet, a decrease, and then 6 single crochet back to the start of our round. And then finally row 17 is just 11 single crochet, 6 half double crochet, and then 7 single crochet back to the start of our round. 6 and 7, and finish off. So now if you want to flatten out the base of the piece, give those little ruffled edges a bit of a smooth down, and that is what our body piece looks like. And that's what our robe looks like. So in here I'm going to place my weight, which is just it's a glass landscaping rock. I got a kilo of them for a couple of bucks down at Bunnings. And then we will be stuffing this up to the opening. I'm just putting a little bit in for now, and we'll stuff it more as we go to assemble. There's our robe / body piece. So pop that to one side. Next up, we're going to make the arms. Okay, next up we are going to make some arms. So for the arms, you are going to need your white, black, and grey. So we're going to start in our black with a magic ring of 6. Then we're going to start row 2 by working 3 increases. That's 2 and 3. Then we're going to work a single crochet changing to our white. And that's because we're about to make his little hands, which stick out the edge of his sleeves. So with our white on our hook ready to go, we are going to work 3 double treble crochet into the same stitch. Now you're probably familiar with double crochet and treble crochet, but you may or may not have done a double treble. So to work a double treble crochet, you yarn over your hook 3 times, insert into the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, leaving you with 5 loops in total on your hook. Then you yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over and pull through the next 2 loops, yarn over and pull through the next 2 loops, and yarn over and pull through the next 2 loops. So there is our double treble. Now, if you do not like doing the super long extended stitches like double trebles, you can absolutely substitute in a treble crochet, but I probably wouldn't go any smaller than that, or you risk the fingers not being long enough to poke out from the edges of the sleeves. So there is 1, and we're going to work another 1 in there. So yarn over 3 times, just all into the same stitch. So there's 2, and in our third one, we're going to change back to our black, which is the same as all other color changes. Basically, once you're down to 2 loops on your hook, you pull through the color you're changing to instead. Like so. So there is his little hand. And now in our black, we're going to work 1 more increase to finish the row. There we go, and you should have 12 stitches in your round. Now working in our black, we're going to work 3 repeats of 3 single crochet, and an increase. So there's our first repeat. We're going to do that again. 1, 2, 3, and an increase. And one more time. So 1, 2, 3. I'm sorry about the drilling upstairs, guys. Can't do anything about it. And in our final increase, we're going to change to our grey. So that means we work the first stitch of the increase as per normal, and the second stitch we use as a colour change. I'm going to trim off my black and white at this point. So now with our grey on our hook, we are going to work 15 front post single crochet around. Like so, and then 15 back post single crochet around. That's just going to form the edge of the sleeve. And then row 6 is just 15 single crochet around. That's just through the loops at the top. And 15. So that's the tricky part of the sleeve all done. So now we're just narrowing off the top of the arm. So row 7 is 3 repeats of 3 single crochet and a decrease. So there's our first one, and we're going to do that 2 more times to bring our row down to 12 stitches. Like so. Then row 8 is 10 single crochet and a decrease. To bring us down to 11 stitches, and you can put a little bit of stuffing in there. I'm not really stuffing mine very much at all. I like it nice and bendy. And then row 9 is 9 single crochet and a decrease. Row 10 is 8 single crochet and a decrease. And row 11 is 3 repeats of a single crochet and a decrease. And finish off. And just like we did with the hood, take your remaining yarn and weave it around the stitches to close. There is our arm, and I'm just going to like poke the black part in so that it sits inside the sleeve instead, and just pinch around the outside. There we go. His little fingers reaching out the edges of his sleeves. He has one little arm, and you need to make 2 little arm ice cream cones. Pop those to one side, and we're going to make his scythe, and then we'll assemble. So his scythe is made up of a handle and a blade. So we'll make the blade first. For that, I'm going to be using some pale grey, some light grey. So it's lighter than the grey I've been using for the robe. And we're going to start by chaining 9. So then turning and starting in the second chain from our hook, we're going to work 7 single crochet back across. And an increase into the final chain. Chain 1 and turn so that we're working back into the stitches we just did. And we're going to start with a decrease. And then 4 slip stitches. And 3 single crochet to finish. Finish off. So there is our blade, and now we need our handle. So I'm going to be grabbing a little bit of brown, and we're going to work up a pretty basic tube of 5 single crochet around. So the pattern only has 16 rows in it, but you can add as many rows as you like for the however tall you want your scythe to be. But keep in mind that he's not a very tall reaper, so he doesn't need a very tall weapon. Staff, fukai, stick, finish off. We are going to weave our tail around to close off this opening as well. Okay, so now we have all of our pieces. Let's pull them all in. So we're going to start our assembly. And we are going to start by assembling our skull. So we'll move all these pieces out of the way. So for the skull, it comes together with these two pieces together this way, and then we sew the snout onto the front. First things first, I want you to find the finishing off point of your two eye sockets, and I want you to line up those finishing off points. Come here, Torty. And we are going to like pin them together around, like so. And then I'm going to take some of my white, and we are going to sew around so that those two pieces are completely attached together. And I am going to start at the front here, where we're going to hide all of our ends behind a snout. And we're going to use our stitches as a guide. So let me just get my yarn in here and started. Each eye socket has the same number of stitches around the outside, which we can like sew together in pairs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the front loop of the stitch on one side, and then I'm going to pick up the front loop of the stitch on the other side, like that. Now I don't have to pull it super tightly to start with, but I'm going to go backwards and forwards, picking up front loops for every single stitch, alternating sides. You can totally give it a little pull to tighten once you've worked a few stitches. So I'm going to work my way 3/4 of the way around, and then we'll stop and put a little bit of stuffing in. So there we are. We have a little opening left. And we're just going to take a little bit of stuffing and work it mainly into the curve of the back, because we do want the eyes to be still very much inset, and then just finish sewing up. And there we are. And so that's that weird little roll we have going here. And then we are going to take our snout piece and just line it up over the top of where all of those like starting and finishing points were. And given that our yarn is already in the correct spot, we are going to sew around the edge of that. You can, once again, sneak a little bit of stuffing in there if you would like to. But make sure that you sew down every single stitch around the outside of the snout. So that is our little rat skull, and it is going to go inside the hood like that. I'm just going to pin that skull into the hood for now. So I've just tucked it in there so that the eyes are most of the way out. Then when it comes time to attaching the hood to the body, you can pick all kinds of poses. You can have him looking upwards, you can have him looking downwards, you can have him turning left, right, with his head turned all the way around. He's an uncanny kind of creature, don't you know? Today I'm probably going to go for a relatively neutral position, maybe just off to one side, but the point stands is that the power is in your hands. I'm just going to finish stuffing this body. So just pin the body to the hood. Like so. And then with his little arms, you can have him like very neutral with his arms by his side, or one arm up holding his side, or you could like have him zombie pose, be holding his stick. He could be dual wielding by moving that arm across the body. So you see what I mean? Like, just find the pose that works best for you. But with all of that said, I am going to just disassemble mine a little bit here and go back, and we're going to sew skull into the hood. And I'm going to use grey for that because it's going to be the colour visible on the outside. I'm going to make sure your skull is at a good angle and not too far in. And I'm going to lock my yarn in place off to one side. Just a little stitch. And then just stitch down and through until I feel myself working through one layer of the skull. Careful not to like go through the eye socket. Now at the top. Being careful to keep everything relatively loose because we don't want to cause any like pinch points or puckers. There we go, and we're going to do that again. The curved needle, I'll admit, makes this a lot easier, but it's not impossible with a straight needle. And just one more down and off to the side. Then I'm going to take the body and pin it in place underneath the hood. And I do want to mention that I did play around with a potential tail for this fellow or some feet, but in the end I liked the way that the robe fell better without those elements. But if you wanted to add a tail, it's a really simple process of basically just remake the handle of the scythe in your bone color and slip it up under his skirt. And you could totally just sew this shut in a hinge along the back and have it like hinge open and shut as like a dice bag or dice holder as well. Okay, so with that all together, I'm going to take each of his arms, and keeping in mind that like you should always kind of have the hands at the top of the sleeve for the drape to fall correctly. So if it's out like sideways, it kind of makes sense, but makes way more sense on top, and absolutely not at the bottom because then it's a gravity defying sleeve. So I'll just pin those in place for now, and I'll just stop and assemble the scythe. So just take the blade and pin it to the top of the stick. And I'm going to take a little bit of brown and just sew these two pieces together. As for which way around the blade goes, it's honestly just whichever way looks better to you. Okay, we have a weapon, which means that we can finish positioning these arms so that he is holding his weapon, which I could have made slightly taller, I think. So yeah, I'm just going to finish positioning the arms and sew them all on. So there is our finished little Grim Squeaker. I hope you had fun making him with me today. But yeah, other than that, I'll see you next week. Okay, bye. Good news, everyone. I actually have a desk mat coming, but it won't be here for a couple of weeks, so you're just going to put up with some cardboard until then. But that's it. Oh, and a bunch of stitch markers. Let me find some stitch markers. Tell me I've been in focus. Well, we are now anyway. Hello. We are still recording, which is a good thing. Pop, that's the end of row 22. Ratty. Puns always intended. He borrowed Mr. Toad's hat. It's hard to show from this angle without his arms flopping all over the place, but he's feeling fancy. Oh, sorry, knocked my pattern over. Thank you, Ratty. He's just a poor boy from a poor family. Everything always comes down to Bohemian Rhapsody. I'm sorry, it does. This is just a mess, isn't it? So weird. On the inside, I can see some of the stitches are lining up exactly, and I can see through to the orange card on the outside. But because all of our pieces are self-contained, you can have him looking all the way up with his arms in the air. They're the same size. Sorry. Sometimes there's a little bit of an optical illusion that happens. Ah, I can find the end of the brown. There it is. He kind of follows you with his eyes. Let's see, we need some thumbnail images. I might just have to try and get a good photo of him. Easier said than done. Nom 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 nom.